तो आपका स्टॉक इन्वेस्टिंग जर्नी जो है इसमें आपका कौन सा बेस्ट पिक रहा है इन योर करियर? कितने रिटर्न्स बनाए थे आपने उसमें?
In a very short duration, E2E Networks was one company which, like, within a year, that was like a 25 bagger.
25 bagger in 15 months?
Yeah. There's a SME company actually, PNGS Gargi Fashion Jewelry. Company went up 50x in 2 years after the IPO.
तो इसमें आपने क्या देखा था, क्या थीसिस था? आपका पर्सनल पोर्टफोलियो स्टॉक मार्केट्स का कैगर कितना होगा?
Would be definitely north of 35-40%.
वाओ। तो लगेज बैग्स के बारे में आपका क्या थीसिस है? लाइक हाउ इज दिस इंडस्ट्री हेडेड?
Luggage sector में there are broadly 3 companies who have 70 to 80% of the market share. One is Safari, one is VIP, and the third one is Samsonite.
So what is something that Safari did that VIP did not?
Safari was the first company to launch in e-com. First he conquered one channel, then उसको maintenance mode पे डाल दिया. Then he conquered second channel, उसको maintenance mode पे डाल दिया. आज ये हालत है कि Safari enjoys a market cap of around 10-11,000 crore and VIP's market cap is roughly 6,000 crore. Safari after 2012 is one of the fastest growing consumer brands in India.
Do you think the brand concepts can become the next Safari?
Safari बनने के लिए बहुत साल लगेंगे. I am very positive on the company and we are evaluating the idea.
So which is that one company today at present which you are betting heavily on?
So I think
वीडियो देखने से पहले मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है आप सबसे। मैं YouTube एनालिटिक्स देख रहा था एंड वहां पर देखा कि 82.6% ऑफ माय ऑडियंस हु इज वाचिंग दिस कंटेंट हैज नॉट सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल। अगर मैंने आपको थोड़ी सी वैल्यू प्रोवाइड की होगी एंड आपको अगर कंटेंट बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू प्लीज हिट द सब्सक्राइब बटन सो दैट वी कैन ब्रिंग यू द बेस्ट क्वालिटी ऑफ गेस्ट एंड गिव यू द मैक्सिमम वैल्यू पॉसिबल। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर सब्सक्राइबिंग टू आवर चैनल एंड एंजॉय दिस एंटायर एपिसोड ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद कुशल। तो आपका स्टॉक इन्वेस्टिंग जर्नी जो है, स्टॉक मार्केट्स में इन्वेस्ट जो किया है, तो उसमें आपका कौन सा बेस्ट पिक रहा है इन योर करियर एंड कितने रिटर्न्स बनाए थे आपने उसमें? क्या थीसिस था?
So I think best picks कई रहे हैं. In a very short duration, E2E Networks was one company which was into, data center as well as AI. So E2E Networks क्या करता था कि the company was actually into providing NVIDIA GPUs to hyperscalers. Now, what is a hyperscaler? Some company who will use this GPU and use AI over it to manage its business operations. Let's say example के तौर पे something like a Zomato. Now we know that a lot of data analytics happens in Zomato by the way of what ads they show us, and by the way Zomato wants its customers to place orders from certain restaurants. Sometimes it gets higher commissions and all that, right? So all that mind and all that ML machine is run on NVIDIA GPUs, and this company used to provide it. So it was an infrastructure provider to all the AI companies in India. That was like within a year, I think maybe 15 months, that was like a 25 bagger.
25 bagger in 15 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is like a very small proportion because you would not understand the space fully. Sometimes you are not able to allocate enough capital. In terms of X, in terms of, that is a company which has done well in a very short period of time. In terms of really wealth made, there's a SME company actually. The company's name is PNGS Gargi Fashion Jewelry. That company actually, to a certain level, changed, the trajectory of my personal investment journey. So again, within 2 years after IPO, I'm taking it from the IPO price. Company went up 50x in 2 years after the IPO. And, for me personally, it was roughly 12x within 8 months, I think 9 months.
तो इसमें आपने क्या देखा था, क्या थीसिस था? इज इट द सेम PNG द गार्गिल वन, द ज्वेलरी वन?
बिल्कुल ज्वेलरी वन.
क्या हुआ था इसमें, क्या
सो एक्चुअली आप इनकी बैकग्राउंड और हिस्ट्री में जाएंगे ना तो आपको पता लगेगा. एंड व्हेनेवर वी डू दिस फंडामेंटल इन्वेस्टिंग, हम ना काफी we spend like months sometimes to understand the promoter's history as well. So आप अगर इस कंपनी की पर्टिकुलरली हिस्ट्री में जाएंगे तो पूना गाडगिल is a very famous jeweler in Maharashtra. But I came from Jaipur, right? So I have no idea what this jeweler is. Similarly, in Jaipur, we have like a household name which is called Moti Sons. So this jeweler was a pretty large jeweler, had a pretty good name in Maharashtra in local people here, and most importantly, they were very respected jewelers. इनका मतलब they had a lot of what should I say, public trust was a lot of there in this jeweler. So उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ कि we understood that the company promoters were trustable guys. We did some channel checks from banks also, who were their lenders. Now, आप ऐसा समझिए कि एक बहुत बड़ी कंपनी है और एक बहुत बड़ा प्रमोटर है. वो उस बड़ी कंपनी में वो प्रमोटर is doing roughly 100 to 150 crores of profit each year. He's at 5,000 crores of sales, right? He's launching a company within that larger ecosystem, which will set up shop-in-shops in that large store. आप ऐसे समझिए कि टाइटन के स्टोर में कैरेट लेन का शॉप इन शॉप है. So what valuation or how can Titan scale up, Carrot Lane? That was a similar thought process in PNGS Gargi. So they were setting up a different vertical, which was exclusively for fashion jewelry. And specifically for fashion jewelry, setting up shop-in-shops in their main stores. And they were doing an IPO at 7 times price to earnings. This is a SME IPO. So typically SME IPOs are priced that way. And since that time, now what is happening is a lot of, due to gold prices increasing, right? People opt for lightweight jewelry. You might have heard of 14 carat, even 8 carat, 9 carat. I'm hearing it's pretty famous in foreign markets. But India में क्या होता है कि if you really go to a Tanishq or a large jeweler like Moti Sons as well, the average ticket size of a decent jewelry will be somewhere around 2 to 5 lakhs, maybe more. But India is shifting towards lightweight jewelry, wherein the average ticket size goes down up to, like, say, 30,000. It becomes more affordable to people, and you can clock volumes. Plus, this sector is more margin accretive as well versus the heavy gold, sector, because wahan pe you can't charge a, very high making charges. But yahan pe you can charge a decent making charges, and the gold price is also less. And hence, structurally, what we saw is fashion jewelry will always be a higher ROC, higher margin business versus main jewelry businesses. And this guy was launching a company at, let's say, around 70, 80 crores, maybe less actually, 30, 40 crores market cap. IPO kar raha hai. He's already doing a 150 crore PAT in his parent company. Plus the promoter's, son is a ISB grad. I've spoken to promoter also a couple of times. He's leading this. So he's leading this fashion jewelry this thing, foray for the group. I also saw Carrot Lane was doing well. So some other companies, there are a few other companies in this sector. A company which is South Indian, it's called Kushal Jewelry. And similarly, there are at least 5 to 10 companies in the unlisted space which were doing well specifically in this fashion jewelry space. So we thought 7p is nothing, right? I mean, in jewelry normally gets roughly 40 to 70 times as per, promoter pedigree and growth. And hence we, took a bet on that company. We were very fortunate and lucky that some other investors also invested in the company, and obviously company scaled up pretty good. I mean, this year I think they would do 50 crore kind of PAT, and they are already at roughly 1,500. At the peak, they were valued at around 1,500-1,600 crore kind of valuation. Right now, trading at around 1,000 crore valuation.
Interesting. And isme, if we can just talk about some other sectors as well and get into some companies in every sector. So I want you to break down your thesis on different sectors, 2 or 3 sectors which are going to be there as per your research is done. Right. And in those sectors, which are like the top picks according to you, and what's your thesis on those companies? Sure. So, सबसे पहले, like if we start with the value fashion sector which is there, तो इसमें अभी आपका क्या thesis है? And then इसके बाद like इसमें कौन सी companies है जो आपके हिसाब से चल रही है, and what is happening in this sector?
Sure, absolutely. Happy to, run through the sector. So we have also prepared like a very short presentation on value fashion. So in general, you might have seen that, a lot of Gen Z and a lot of, younger startup population now is no more attached to old clothes, right? I mean, everyone is changing clothes every year. Maybe average age of a cloth has shrinked, right? जो अपने parents clothes use करते थे, the useful life and their thought process around how long should a cloth run or effectively be used is shortened a lot. Plus, we want wide variety. We want fashionable clothes. Obviously, I think this is pretty common nowadays. So uski wajah se kya hua hai, there has been a emergence of players who can provide such trendy clothes at very low prices, similar to, I think, jewelry, which we were discussing earlier. Lower ASP, products in jewelry as well as in, clothes should do well. This is a broad thesis, which I think generally people will accept. Obviously, there is a certain growth happening in the premium end of things as well. So companies like Rare Rabbit, they have, raised private rounds, and various premium other companies have also done well. But this sector caters to, 150 crore population of India, right? If you crack this, sky's the limit. I mean, maybe you can look at Zudio, for example. Trent and Tatas have done well in the retail sector. In fact, as per my understanding, Tatas have been the spearhead of retailing in India. First with Titan and then with Zudio. What they've done is phenomenal. No other company was able to repeat that. So obviously, I think in this sector there are some companies which have become like 3 lakh crore, 5 lakh crore kind of market cap, which are very, very big companies. But we look at smaller companies which are doing well as well, right? So we can definitely run through the presentation, and in the presentation itself you'll get a lot of idea and about what happens in this sector. So in general, value fashion is something which is cheap value, and it can be broadly categorized into apparel, journal merchandising, and FMCG. Now, GM and FMCG is something which we used to buy at Kirana store, right? But why do people go at DMart? People go at DMart क्योंकि किराना स्टोर से भी 30% डिस्काउंट में DMart में मिलता है. So that is why people also go to value fashion destinations to buy clothes. Why do people buy at Zudio? Because Zudio provides stylish, trendy clothes at cheaper prices. So that has been like a key thesis of this sector. You'll see that there is a certain amount of growth which is happening. Growth is obviously higher on the tier 1 side, tier 3, tier 4 side of things, which is still untapped. And there is a certain portion which is unorganized, mom and pop, kapde ki dukane they are actually shrinking, versus these value fashion guys are taking market share from them. So this is what has been a general trend in the industry, right? So this is the macro. But focusing on the micro, focusing on companies who do well in the sector, एक सेटअप करना एक रिटेल स्टोर या एक वैल्यू फैशन एक क्लोथ स्टोर इज प्रीटी इजी, बट टू रन इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट, because you want to set up your store near near the people who will come to buy, but near those people it will be a very high rent. Plus you want to run that store very efficiently, and hence you will see that sales per square feet kind of becomes a benchmark in this sector. Whoever is performing well should do a certain threshold of sales per square feet and footfalls. That should also translate into good same store sales growth. But a lot of other things are also important. So आप ऐसे समझिए कि retail store को start करना तो easy है, but उसको run करना efficiently बहुत difficult है. That is why we have seen so many bankruptcies in the space. You might know about Future Group, right? What happened? We'll come to that story in a bit also. There are some other large retail players who have gone bankrupt, not just in India, in the US as well. So my underlying thesis is sector में entry बहुत easy है. There are very low barriers of entry. Yet in India, there are very few players who are scaled. Whom you can think of in retail? Tata's, Reliance Retail, and DMart. Maybe Vishal Megamart, which is a purely PE funded company. There are no large outcomes from this sector, despite this sector is so easy to, the entry barriers are literally nothing in this sector. Despite uske bhi, people are not able to crack the sector because they fundamentally are not able to run a store efficiently. एक स्टोर को एफिशिएंटली रन करने के लिए आपको पर स्क्वायर फीट सेल्स देखनी पड़ेगी, आपको अपनी कॉस्ट्स को ऑप्टिमाइज करना पड़ेगा. यू विल हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट यू ग्रो ईच ईयर, योर सेम स्टोर सेल्स ग्रोथ हैपेंस ईच ईयर. यू विल हैव टू ऑप्टिमाइज योर सप्लाई चेन. आपको वेंडर्स से बहुत सस्ते में खरीदना पड़ेगा, आपको वर्किंग कैपिटल को मैनेज करना पड़ेगा. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ वेरिएबल्स, and if you want to expand, like once you become listed, analysts will ask you, how will you increase margins? You will have to introduce private label. Now Zudio is 100% private label, right? So private label nahi hoga jab tak you will sell a third party's products, they will not give you margins. So hence, to scale a retail company, these are broadly, 5 big parameters which are, people are rarely doing this correctly. And hence, we are looking at this space despite very low barriers of entry. यहाँ पे ज़्यादा अच्छे, ज़्यादा बड़े outcomes आए ही नहीं हैं. So that is why we have been looking, at a company called V2 Retail. V2 Retail is basically run by Mr. Ramchandra Agarwal. Now, interesting fun fact about this guy: this gentleman started his career with a 300 rupees salary in Calcutta. He came from a literally nowhere background, from a very, very humble background. He actually started Vishal Megamart, which is today a 1 lakh crore, I think 70-80,000 crore market cap company. But he was not able to run it efficiently. He had to sold that company at 70 crore rupees in 2008-2009 crisis. And from 78 crore rupees, the PE guys came in the company. PE guys scaled it up from 70 crores to 70,000 crore market cap. So that is like a 1000x return for those PE guys in, let's say, 15 years.
Wow.
So Ramchandra ji started Vishal Megamart. Vishal Megamart is what you see today, but he had to sell this business midway because of various reasons, because of financial crisis which he was seeing. तो ये भी ना वही सब गलतियां कर रहे थे जो बाकी सब लोग करते हैं रिटेल में, कि आपने स्टोर्स एक्सपैंड कर लिए बट पर स्टोर एफिशिएंसी नहीं आई, आपने अपनी सप्लाई चेन को एफिशिएंट नहीं बनाया, इसलिए इनके स्टोर एक्सपेंशन हो गए, डेट लेके स्टोर एक्सपैंड कर लिए, टॉप लाइन बहुत बढ़ गई, बॉटम लाइन कुछ आई नहीं, डेट वालों का रिपेमेंट नहीं हुआ, यू हैड टू फायर सेल द कंपनी. So it's a very thin margin, cutthroat business. You'll have to, compete with the mom and pops of the world, which are, they don't have a cost base, right? They don't have any cost base, and hence, it's very easy to get in, but difficult to execute business. So this has been the history of the promoter. He is differently abled as well, but I think he has done a phenomenal job with V2 Retail. Now, what has he done with V2 Retail? V2 Retail is his next startup after selling Vishal Megamart. So Vishal Megamart, जब इन्होंने बेच दिया 70 crore rupees में, I am sure he would have not earned anything because there were outside investors also. Vishal Megamart पहले listed थी. They listed and raised 2,000 crore rupees in the listed market, but they got bankrupt and sold to PE firm. So they were earlier listed, then got delisted, then these PE firms acquired them and scaled it up, and then relisted the business, which we are seeing today. But he was out of the picture after selling. So he started V2 Retail. So V2 Retail also, in the name, as the name says, it's a adopted version of Vishal Megamart only. So Vishal Megamart में ये क्या कर रहे थे कि they were selling a lot of things. They were selling FMCG, they were selling general merchandise, as well as they were selling, apparels. They shrinked down the focus only to apparels. So सबसे important चीज तो उन्होंने ये की कि इतने सारे business SKUs, अब apparel business में margins अच्छे होते हैं, and GM and FMCG business में margins कम होते हैं. So I'm guessing that would have been a very key reason of the shift.
GM as in?
GM means general merchandise, general merchandise and FMCG. So वहाँ पे margins are less. Plus Vishal Megamart के store sizes बहुत बड़े थे. Due to a very large store size, their sales throughput was very less. So you can see in the numbers, the revenue per square foot was only 5,400 rupees an annum. While in retail retail, he like literally shrink the store size and he was able to do a much higher throughput of revenue per square foot of the store. Because per square foot, you also incur cost, right? You incur a lot of cost like employee cost, rental cost, miscellaneous expenses. There are a lot of expenses. So you want to become like the best player in revenue per sales, revenue per square foot. If you are the best player, you will be able to, rapidly expand. Now you can look at gross margins as well. Since they were selling 3 different categories in Vishal, they were not making enough gross margins. But now they came to only apparel. They are now making, good. They worked on the working capital cycle as well in V2 retail. So whatever learnings रामचंद्र जी को जो भी learning मिली विशाल मेगा मार्ट से, वो उन्होंने V2 में implement करी.
ये वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल का क्या मतलब है 174 डेज का इन सिंपल टर्म्स एंड सेकेंडली हाउ डिड दे रिड्यूस फ्रॉम 174 टू 107 हियर?
सो मेनली इसमें क्या हुआ कि वर्किंग कैपिटल क्या होती है, पहले मैं ये बताता हूँ. वर्किंग कैपिटल ये होती है कि आपने किसी से यू विल हैव सप्लायर्स, राइट? यू विल नॉट मैन्युफैक्चर ऑल दीज प्रोडक्ट्स. सो आपने किसी सप्लायर से यू टुक गुड्स एंड देन यू टुक सम टाइम टू सेल. वो आपके इन्वेंट्री में पड़े रहे एंड देन यू टुक सम टाइम टू सेल दोज गुड्स. यू रियलाइज कैश and you had to pay to the supplier upfront and you had to store the inventory in your stores. So that is a time period where you had to block your capital. क्योंकि आप कुछ भी store में खरीदोगे जो आपको बेचना है तो वो instantly same day तो it will not sell, right? So it will on an average remain for 175 days out of 365 days a year.
मतलब आधे साल तो वो पड़ा है इन्वेंट्री,
आधे साल इन्वेंट्री पड़ा है. तो ये इनएफिशिएंट मॉडल था बहुत. उसका दूसरा रीजन ये भी था कि पर स्क्वायर फीट सेल्स नहीं थी इतनी. दैट इज व्हाई द इन्वेंट्री वाज हाई एंड सेल्स वाज लो एंड दैट इज व्हाई द वर्किंग कैपिटल वाज आल्सो हाई वर्सेस V2 रिटेल जहां पे दे वर एबल टू शॉर्टन द वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल. अब ये शॉर्ट कैसे हुई वर्किंग कैपिटल साइकिल? देयर माइट बी वेरियस रीजंस. First is they might have negotiated with suppliers a lot on, payment terms. Maybe in Vishal, they used to pay earlier versus in V2, they have a slightly longer tenure. Second, I think the sales throughput of the business increased, right? So now they are able to sell roughly double the revenue per square foot. So per square foot, आपके जो clothes हैं store में, you are able to sell them at a much faster clip, right? On a yearly basis, and hence when you are selling more per square foot you will keep less inventory. So mainly आपकी inventories business में कम हो गई, which led to shortening of working capital cycle. So these are one of the key reasons why working capital shortened for them is higher throughput of sales, which led to much lower inventory days, which led to much lower working capital cycle.
एंड इन्होंने अभी नेट डेट इनका 0 है इसमें लिखा है, तो बेसिकली डेट फ्री कंपनी है ये V2 रिटेल.
यस. सो विशाल में जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि विशाल बैंकरप्ट क्यों हुआ था, क्योंकि उनको हाइपर स्केल करना था बिजनेस को. ही ओपनड लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ स्टोर्स विदाउट मेकिंग ईच स्टोर एफिशिएंट. तो उसकी वजह से डेट बलून हो गया and that was they were not able to handle and they had to fire sell the company. But यहाँ पे V2 में आने के बाद this is one of the fundamental reason the company can stay afloat even in losses, and we'll come in future slides we'll see that company was actually reporting losses in COVID due to lockdowns and all. But even despite posting losses, they were able to sustain themselves and they are now like roughly a 5,500 crore market cap company.
Got it. इसमें V2 retail के competitors कौन-कौन हो गए आज?
So V2 retail currently is competing with there's a company called V-Mart. There is also a company called Style Bazaar. But in the unlisted space, I know at least 5 more competitors like City Cart. And Shubham Kmart. There are a lot of companies actually.
और ये आपने बताया ये apparel पे focus कर रहे हैं, right?
ये apparel पे focus कर रहे हैं.
तो Zudio इनका competitor नहीं होगा क्या?
Zudio तो actually मैं बताऊं इस industry का grandfather है.
हाँ.
Right? Zudio से तो इनको I think you can compare it. But Zudio is doing a per store sales of 20,000 rupees. They are at 10,000. So Zudio is like the big daddy of the industry. Obviously, Zudio is a big competitor for them.
But same industry, right? इनका ये.
Same industry. Zudio is situated in slightly more urban areas. Versus for them, their stores are located in a much rural or semi-urban areas. So in those situations, Zudio pays a much higher rent, but is also doing a much higher revenue per square foot.
So let's say if I'm a retail investor, so like you have to help me understand why do you say this is your top pick and not let's say a Zudio?
Sure. So this is why the efficiency matters. Before we move to peer section, I'll just take another minute. एक रिटेल बिजनेस क्या होता है? इट्स लार्जली अ फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट मॉडल. एक रिटेल की शॉप कैसी होती है? उसके रेंटल्स फिक्स्ड होते हैं, उसके एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट फिक्स होते हैं, उसका इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का बिल फिक्स्ड होता है, उसके मिसलेनियस फिक्स्ड होते हैं. As you scale up your revenue per square foot, you will be able to generate a higher EBITDA number. So in this chart, you will see that this is, a comparison of V2 only, but this can be largely applied to all the value fashion or in general, the retail sector in general. From the same store, if you are able to do different levels of revenue per square foot, so जब भी कोई नया स्टोर खोलता है तो उसका रेवेन्यू कम होता है, रेवेन्यू पर स्क्वायर फुट इज लेसर वर्सेस कोई किसी का स्टोर मैच्योर हो जाता है. तो जैसे जैसे if you are able to move from 6,000 rupees revenue per square foot, this is annual number, to 15,000 rupees, your EBITDA margins or store level ROCE will go from negative 9% to positive 80%. Because आप देखोगे तो एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट सेम है, रेंटल सेम है, अदर्स सेम है. So your costs are largely same. But if you are able to efficiently run the store and efficiently take out maximum revenue per square foot from the store, you will be able to do decent store level ROCs, decent store level, profits, which will ultimately translate to your, company level profits. So that has been one of the important factors to analyze any retail business in India.
Okay. So the optimum basically metric is revenue per square feet. इसको कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल.
Ultimately उससे ही store level ROC increase हो गया.
ऐसा बोलते हैं ना कुछ लोग कि if you really want to grow, you should focus internally rather than focusing externally.
Correct.
Retail business में this is the most apt saying. If you really focus on the store efficiency, that is what you need to do. That is a very simple thought process, but very difficult to do. अभी सेम स्टोर से पर स्क्वायर फीट कैसे सेल ज्यादा लाएं, यही तो मेन बात है.
कैसे वो उसका क्या सीक्रेट होता है, वो कैसे करते हैं?
उसके बहुत सारे सीक्रेट्स होते हैं. आई विश आई न्यू ऑल द सीक्रेट्स. आई वुड हैव बीन अ एंटरप्रेन्योर, बट एज अ इन्वेस्टर, you always want companies to try a lot of things to increase this number.
So इन्होंने कैसे किया होगा V2 Retail ने?
So V2 Retail
आपने बताया कि एक SKU पे फोकस किया, अपैरल पे.
एक SKU पे फोकस करा, अपैरल पे. नाउ अपैरल, the way you design your store is also very important. आपने देखा होगा Zudio में, suppose it's a 3-floor Zudio. So ground floor पे normally किसकी शॉपिंग होती है, फीमेल्स की या मेल्स की? फीमेल्स की. क्यों? ज्यादा, क्योंकि फुटफॉल्स बढ़ते हैं. फीमेल्स की वजह से मेल भी अंदर आते हैं. राइट. I mean, females के साथ जो उनके husbands हैं, whatever. So these are some of the very hidden strategies which these retailers use to increase footfalls. Right? This is like one of them. Placing, correct items at correct places. Let's say you will never buy like a perfume from Zudio, but they are placed at the counters, payment counters. So people randomly pick, this is like 100 rupee perfume. You would not think twice, right? So placement of articles is one of the most important things. Second important thing is your DC, which is your, warehouse. In case of V2, they have an in-house warehouse where store के पीछे ये लोग एक warehouse बना के रखते हैं. This is not like a very, I would say, replicable strategy here, but I don't know why a lot of retailers are not doing this. But due to that, you can replenish, your store articles very quickly versus others. दूसरों के साथ क्या होता है? There's a weekly replenishment. Sometimes hot selling articles or clothes, they sell very fast, and whoever the new customer is coming, he will not be able to get it. It's a double-edged sword. ज़्यादा इन्वेंट्री भी नहीं रख सकते क्योंकि आप इन्वेंट्री कॉस्ट ज्यादा दोगे, एंड कम इन्वेंट्री भी नहीं रख सकते क्योंकि फिर कस्टमर डिससेटिस्फाई होके चला जाएगा, फिर वो किसी और दुकान के पास चला जाएगा. राइट. सो इट्स अ वेरी strategic decision. As an investor, what I can say is the ultimate outcome of all these strategy is the numbers which they are reporting. If someone is reporting a very high sales per square feet, it means they are doing something right. And we'll come on the next slides. You will be able to understand what I'm saying as well. This is a very broad comparison of peers versus V2 retail. Now you can see, their revenue per square feet is much higher than Style Bazaar and V-Mart, right? Zudio is like, as I told you, is the grandfather of the industry. If they can even do half of what Zudio is doing, it will be a phenomenal outcome for them. They are actually doing roughly 55% of what Zudio does. But there is a fundamental difference. Zudio places its stores in urban areas versus V-Mart के stores आपको urban, semi-urban, rural areas में ज़्यादा दिखेंगे. And V-Mart में average selling price for a cloth is 300 rupees versus Zudio is almost 2x of that, right? 2 to 3x of that. So वो Zudio ही है, but वो rural India का Zudio है. 300 रुपए में वहाँ पे you can buy like a shirt, jeans.
V-Mart.
V2 retail.
अच्छा, V2 retail. आपने V-Mart बोला.
Sorry, I'm sorry. मैं V2 retail की बात कर रहा हूँ. V2 retail is like the best player apart from Zudio. Zudio is definitely, one of the best players. But why you want to look at Zudio or V2 retail now is, and by the way, this is all like, we are a SEBI registered advisor and, you should consult your own advisor. This is not like a recommendation in any way. Why you should consider V2 is because of this chart. Now tell me which is like the highest growing company for the last, let's say 5-6 quarters.
V2 retail.
And Trend used to be the highest growing company in the sector. But now consecutively in the last 4 quarters, they have reported much lower numbers versus V2.
ये revenue growth है या profit?
ये revenue growth है. This is YOY revenue growth. Profitability is also a driver of revenue only. And hence, this is a guy who is second best, who is able to do on a store level roughly, 20 to 30% of ROC. In mature stores, much more than that. And he's growing at a fastest clip. Now, one of the key reasons of why he's growing is his new stores, which is also a slide here. His new stores are able to function at a 9,500 sales per square feet. कोई नया store डाला है और वो पहले ही महीने में he's doing like roughly 750 rupees square foot per month, which translates to roughly 10,000 rupees or 9,500 rupees per month of sales. Which is why their new stores themselves are throwing roughly 30 or let's say 20% ROC versus mature stores are doing much well. So क्योंकि ये न्यू स्टोर्स ओपनिंग काफी बढ़ा रहे हैं और जो न्यू स्टोर खोल रहे हैं वो भी काफी अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं. दैट इज व्हाई दे आर ग्रोइंग एट द फास्टेस्ट क्लिप.
ये ऑन एन एवरेज एक स्टोर की साइज कितनी होगी Zudio की और V2 रिटेल की?
Zudio के स्टोर्स बहुत बड़े होते हैं. नॉर्मली Zudio वुड बी अराउंड 20,000 while V2 retail will be around 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So V2 is much smaller, but again, they are able to run much efficiently versus some of the other players apart from.
So अगर आप बोल रहे हो एवरेज स्टोर अगर 10,000 स्क्वायर फीट का और इनका एवरेज रेवेन्यू पर स्क्वायर फीट 10,000 है,
right?
तो इनका 10 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम वन स्टोर इज व्हाट दे आर टारगेटिंग.
They are currently at roughly 200 stores. 180 to 200 stores. They are planning to add 120 stores this year. And in the last con call, they said that they'll be raising funds in the QIP as well.
तो कितना 2,000-3,000 करोड़ रेवेन्यू है?
2,000 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू है. Yeah, 2,000 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू है. And obviously, Zudio is at 20,000 crore revenue. So it is 10x the size, but huge difference in market cap.
And just a competition slide, why not V-Mart and Style Bazaar? तो अभी जैसे what is the advantage of V2 retail over V-Mart and Style Bazaar?
So you will see here that firstly their store level efficiency is much lower. So in this slide particularly, if you come, their revenue per square feet is much lower than V2, right? Firstly, इनका efficiently store उतना नहीं है जितना V2 का है. ये तो पहली इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. उसके बाद इनका उसकी वजह से एफिशिएंसी की वजह से इनका पर स्टोर ROC इज मच लोअर, राइट? सो पर स्टोर आरओसी कम होने की वजह से the entire business model is less efficient. And then coming on to, the next slide, you have growth rates, right? Each person is growing at a different rate, and V2 is clearly growing at the fastest growth rate. Look at Style Bazaar, look at VMart. They are at 20 to 30% growth rate year over year, quarter over quarter. Versus this guy, he's growing at almost 2x, 1.5 to 2x growth of what they have been posting. So here's a guy who's more efficient on store level, who is also growing, the fastest in terms of sales growth, revenue, bottom line growth. Plus the third kicker for this company is valuation. This guy is actually trading at a cheaper valuation versus some of the other folks. Now valuation में बहुत लोग ये गलती करते हैं कि they look at Ind AS adjusted numbers. आजकल, I don't know, you are a CA, you might know this, but there is something called as Ind AS 116. Ind AS 116 क्या कहता है कि अगर आपकी 3 साल से ज्यादा लीज है तो आपको एसेट की तरह दिखानी पड़ेगी. यू कैन कॉल इट राइट टू यूज एसेट्स. राइट टू यूज एसेट्स के अगेंस्ट, क्योंकि बैलेंस शीट में इट शुड ऑलवेज मैच, राइट, फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल ऑफ अकाउंटिंग. एसेट आप बढ़ाओगे तो लायबिलिटी बढ़ानी पड़ेगी, तो लायबिलिटी में आपको एक लीज लायबिलिटी खड़ी करनी पड़ेगी. अब इस एसेट पे आपको डेप्रिसिएशन लगाना पड़ेगा और इस लायबिलिटी पे आपको इंटरेस्ट देना पड़ेगा, और ये दोनों आइटम एबिडा के नीचे आएंगे. और जो आप रेंट दे रहे हो, जो आपका एक्चुअल कैश फ्लो है, वो आप रिकॉग्नाइज मत करो. अब जो एक्चुअल में हो क्या रहा है इसकी वजह से, तो आप रेंट दे रहे हो, एग्जांपल के तौर पे रेंट दे रहे हो 10 रुपए, लेकिन आपका ये जो लीज एक्सपेंस, इंटरेस्ट और डेप्रिसिएशन का जुड़ के आ रहा है, ये हो रहा है 20 रुपए. देयर कैन बी अ सिचुएशन वेयर योर न्यू स्टोर्स ओपनिंग्स are very fast, and on those new stores your depreciation plus interest is much higher than your rental amount, and due to that the bottom line which you are reporting is much lower versus actual bottom line. So इसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा है, जो पैट आप दिखा रहे हो, प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स, वो कम दिखा रहे हो, और उसकी वजह से वैल्यूएशन इज absurd. वैल्यूएशन जो आप दिख रही है स्क्रीनर पे या किसी भी और जगह पे आप देखोगे, तो वैल्यूएशन इज समथिंग विच इज आप रिलेट नहीं कर पाओगे उस वैल्यूएशन.
बट ये सारे कंपनीज पे एप्लीकेबल होगा ना?
ये सारे कंपनीज पे एप्लीकेबल है, बट कुछ कंपनीज में बहुत बड़ा फर्क आता है. जैसे इफ आई कैन ओपन स्क्रीनर हियर एंड शो यू.
या श्योर.
सो लुक एट बाजार स्टाइल. बाजार स्टाइल आपको दिख रहा है 161 का पी, राइट, और इनका प्रॉफिट कितना दिख रहा है, 17 करोड़. बट आप इनके डिस्क्लोजर्स में जाके देखेंगे, दे रिपोर्ट देयर प्री इंडेक्स नंबर सेपरेटली, एंड यहां पे जाके आप देखोगे तो लास्ट ईयर दे रिपोर्टेड 15 करोड़ प्रॉफिट इन FY25, बट देयर प्री इंडेक्स नंबर वाज एक्चुअली 31 करोड़.
ओह माय गॉड, ये तो
डबल का फर्क हो गया. तो जो वैल्यूएशन आपको 116 का पी दिखा रहा है, एक्चुअल में वो 60 का पी है, राइट. ये सिमिलर चीज V2 रिटेल के साथ भी हो रही है. तो V2 रिटेल के केस में क्या है कि ये नंबर डबल नहीं है, ये लेट्स से 1.5x है. सो व्हाई डू यू वांट टू एनालाइज कंपनीज बेस्ड ऑन प्री इंडेस नंबर्स? बिकॉज वो जो इंडेस है उसकी वजह से प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी, पैट जो है वो गलत दिख रहा है, वो सही नहीं है. वो आगे जाके रिवर्स हो जाएगा, बट जब भी रिवर्स होगा तब भी आप एक्चुअल पैट ही देखोगे. You want to look at companies after their actual rental expenses, no, not because due to some accounting the profitability has changed and you will look at that profitability. वो नहीं होगा, right? So अगर आप उससे adjust करोगे pre-Ind AS numbers से इन सब companies को, you can look at the presentations. आप investor decks खोलिए इनके, you'll have to do some hard work. This is the trailing 12-month profitability.
इसका मतलब क्या होता है?
Trailing 12 months means जैसे अभी 1Q has been reported, 1Q के numbers already आ गए हैं, तो 1Q को इंक्लूड करके पिछले 3 क्वार्टर, विच मींस यहां से 12 महीने पहले. सो यू ऑलवेज वांट टू वैल्यू कंपनीज ऑन TTM नंबर्स. दैट इज व्हाई ये क्वार्टर तो आ चुका है एंड द मार्केट हैज ऑलरेडी फैक्टर्ड इन व्हाट द रिजल्ट्स हैड टू से. सो दैट इज व्हाई यू लुक एट वैल्यूएशन ऑफ द कंपनी ऑन TTM नंबर्स. फॉरवर्ड नंबर्स पे भी कुछ लोग देखते हैं. जैसे अब फॉरवर्ड नंबर्स में प्रॉब्लम क्या आ जाती है कि आप क्या ग्रोथ अज्यूम करोगे वो आप अज्यूम ही कर सकते हो. दैट इज समथिंग विच वो एक्यूरेट नहीं हो सकती.
तो ट्रेलिंग 12 मंथ मतलब लास्ट क्वार्टर के पहले के 12 मंथ,
अभी से पहले के 12 मंथ,
अभी से, आज
हाँ,
से.
हाँ. तो उसमें लास्ट के 4 क्वार्टर. तो अभी 1Q अगर आपने ले लिया तो लास्ट ईयर का 4Q, 3Q एंड 2Q. सो दैट विल बी 4 क्वार्टर्स फ्रॉम हियर पास्ट के. अब जैसे 2Q का रिजल्ट आ जाएगा तो आप 2Q, 1Q, 4Q, 3Q, दैट विल बी TTM.
ठीक है.
सो अगर आप वो देखोगे तो यू विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि दिस कंपनी विच इज सबसे एफिशिएंटली रन हो रही है आफ्टर Zudio ऑफ कोर्स, बट ग्रोथ सबसे ज्यादा आ रही है टॉप लाइन में, बट फिर भी वैल्यूएशन इसका सबसे कम है.
एक बार इंटरप्रेट कैसे करेंगे TTM PE और पेग रेशियो को, इसका क्या
Yes,
interpretation
thanks for asking that question. So PEG ratio कुछ नहीं होता. PEG ratio is basically price earnings to growth ratio. So ना ये काफी परसेप्शन होता है और शुरू में हमारे साथ भी ये काफी होता था कि हम वैल्यूएशन पे इतना फोकस करते थे कि हम ये नहीं देख पाते थे कि वैल्यूएशन जो दे रहे हैं वर्सेस जो ग्रोथ है कंपनी में उसको भी तो देखना पड़ेगा. जैसे एक कंपनी में बहुत कम ग्रोथ है या नील ग्रोथ है, दैट इज अवेलेबल एट 10 PE. एक कंपनी में 50% की ग्रोथ है, वो हर साल 50% पे ग्रो हो रही है और आगे 3-4 साल विजिबिलिटी भी है कि वो ग्रोथ होगी और वो 20 PE पे है. तो लोग क्या सोचते हैं, यार वो 20 PE वाली महंगी है, मैं तो 10 PE वाली ले लेता हूँ, राइट. अब होगा क्या, वो 20 PE वाली अगले साल क्योंकि प्रॉफिट बढ़ जाएगा तो वो 15 PE हो जाएगी, फिर अगले साल प्रॉफिट बढ़ जाएगा फिर वो 10 PE हो जाएगी, बट क्योंकि उसकी ग्रोथ है तो उसका 20 PE लेट से 20 PE रहेगा. So in the next 2 years, you will be able to earn with 50% CAGR if the PE remains same of that company versus this 10 PE company जिसका कोई ग्रोथ ही नहीं आया, ये 10 का 10 ही रहेगा. So ये वैल्यूएशन में बहुत something which you should look at is you definitely need a lower valuation when you want to invest. बहुत कम वैल्यूएशन हम चाहते हैं कि इन्वेस्ट करें, although हर बार पॉसिबल नहीं होता, बट एट द सेम टाइम ग्रोथ आना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर ग्रोथ नहीं आ रही है ना तो कोई सा भी इन्वेस्टमेंट हो, चाहे वैल्यू या ग्रोथ, दोनों में पैसा नहीं बनेगा, दोनों में यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू मेक गुड रिटर्न्स. वर्सेस जहां पे ग्रोथ आ रही है एंड इवन इफ यू पे अ स्लाइटली हायर वैल्यूएशन यू विल बी एबल टू इफ ग्रोथ विल टेक केयर ऑफ द वैल्यूएशन. दिस इज हाउ आई विल पुट दिस. तो दैट इज व्हाई ये पीजी रेशियो है ना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. ये पी रेशियो और ग्रोथ को कंपेयर करते हैं. तो अब इसका 56 का TTM प्रॉफिट PE है, बट इट इज ऑल्सो ग्रोइंग एट 50 to 60%.
ये ग्रोथ रेवेन्यू ही है ना,
ये ग्रोथ रेवेन्यू की है जो हमने ये देखी है, राइट. सो यहाँ पे इट इज क्लियरली यू विल बी एबल टू सी दैट दिस इज ग्रोइंग एट 50 to 60%. सो इफ यू लुक एट द PEG रेशियो 56 डिवाइड बाय 60, it will be less than 1 versus some of the other companies इनका PE रेशियो भी ज्यादा है और इनकी ग्रोथ भी कम है, तो उनका PEG रेशियो थोड़ा ज्यादा है इससे.
so lower the peg ratio better it is,
lower the PEG ratio better it is, but again there are a lot of things apart from PEG ratio also, right. इन्वेस्टिंग में सिर्फ एक रेशियो पे फिक्स होके you can't invest. There are tons of other things. Sector should remain favorable. Let's say for your investment horizon, आपने 3 साल के लिए 5 साल के लिए इन्वेस्ट करा है, तो उन 3 या 5 सालों के लिए सेक्टर should be a favorite sector. कभी कभी सेक्टर में स्लो डाउन आ जाता है, उसकी वजह से भी वैल्यूएशन नहीं मिलता. So there are a lot of factors, but this is one of the factors which you can look at, analyzing any company where you can compare their PE ratio and your growth. This is PEG ratio.
समझ गया. एंड ये ट्रेलिंग 12 मंथ PE रेशियो इज बेसिकली कि लास्ट के 12 मंथ्स का जो लास्ट के मार्केट कैप अपॉन लास्ट के 12 मंथ्स का अर्निंग्स बेसिकली.
TTM PE is trailing 12 month PE.
तो ये वही ना, मतलब 5555 अपॉन 99 वैसे ही कैलकुलेट करना है.
Absolutely.
एंड ये एनी आइडिया ट्रेंड के क्या नंबर्स हो गए TTM PE और पेग रेशियो?
सो ट्रेंड के एक्चुअली क्या होता है कि ट्रेंड इज नॉट रिपोर्टिंग इट्स नंबर्स on the basis of Ind AS 116.
Okay.
So they report just the bottom line and just the top line. Basis on that, they are trading at 100.
And उसमें Zudio के अलावा भी और
भी businesses हैं. Trend में Zudio भी है, West Side भी है, Star Bazaar भी है, and I think 1 or 2 more businesses.
तो इसमें that's why like V2 retail you're saying अभी काफी like undervalued है as compared to like other
Yeah,
players?
this is our analysis. Obviously, her analysis सही नहीं होता. This is just showing some. किसी को अगर actually में ground up research करनी है on sectors, he can do like this. वो companies के fundamental को समझे, sector में जो most fundamental key बात है उसको समझे, and then analyze companies and then come to valuation. Valuation is something आप last में देखो. पहले sector को तो समझो. सेक्टर को समझोगे ना एक बार, और सेक्टर की सारी लिस्टेड कंपनीज को समझोगे, उसके बाद उन सब में से एक बेस्ट कंपनी समझ में आ जाएगी आपको. अगर आप सेक्टर को अच्छे से समझ गए, then you will be able to understand the best company out of that sector. That has what we've been doing in Inved as well.
Got it. Very interesting. Just before we move on to the next sector, थोड़ा इस पे बात कर सकते हो कि अगर आपको suppose V2 retail पसंद है, तो would you as an investor also visit the stores of V2 retail, talk to some customers, promoter से बात करना, just to do the due diligence, ऐसे कुछ steps करते हो?
Absolutely 100%.
तो examples दोगे, क्या किया आपने, क्या experiences थे, interactions?
So V2 retail के आप store में जाओगे ना, तो it's not like a Zudio store first of all. Zudio store क्या है कि एकदम main road पे होता है, एकदम it is on the heart of the city. While Zudio store is roughly 2 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers in the inner areas of the city where rentals are less. So आप जाओगे ना तो you will immediately understand कि this is a discount store. पहले तो आप ये समझ जाओगे उसके look and feel से. Second, आप जब store में जाओगे ना तो you will see, versus Zudio, which is normally a completely self-assisted journey of buying. यहाँ पे वो नहीं था. यहाँ पे almost on all aisles, you will be able to see employees. Okay. So fundamental differences you will be able to understand why they are doing well. Plus what they changed recently is पहले जो कपड़ों का डिस्प्ले था ना वो बहुत क्लमजी था. It's difficult to explain, but maybe I don't know, maybe if on photos I'll be able to explain you, but एक ही rod में कपड़े की you will fix like 10 SKUs and 5 sizes of SKUs. You will barely sell. Versus you'll display the main article ahead like on 9 feet, right? वहां पे main article आपने दिखा दिया, and then you have different SKUs of that article only. So there are very minute things when you actually visit. हमने DC center भी देखा. DC center actually हमें Zudio में भी था, but इतना बड़ा नहीं था जितना इनके स्टोर में था.
So DC center मतलब?
DC center means basically replenishment center, जो Zudio जो इनके स्टोर के पीछे ही होता है. एक warehouse समझ लो, mini warehouse. तो for the size of the store, it was very large. Versus in any of the other companies you will see, या तो होगा ही नहीं क्योंकि real estate खा रहा है, right? It's prime land, it's prime property. वहाँ पे you are allocating a significant portion to warehousing. Zudio में होता है बट उतना बड़ा नहीं होता versus the store size. यहाँ पे काफी बड़ा था. And yeah, I think broadly these have been our observations. I think they are moving in the right direction.
Give me an example of the best promoter interaction that you have had.
Best promoter interaction. This is a company based out of Ahmedabad, and I'm a big fan of Gujarati promoters, by the way. This promoter, his name is Swapnil Shah. He runs a company called Remes Pharma and Senoras Pharma. He's like what should I say? He had the exact roadmap for the next 5 years in both the companies, and he knew what he was doing. उनका काम इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं है, but they are into pharma. So pharma generally feels like it is a complex business, but they are into manufacturing of generic pharma, CDMO कह लो उनको आप. But he has a lot of good contact in some rest of the world companies, like not in advanced developed countries like US and UK, but he does a lot of work in some underdeveloped or developing countries like India. And he had got very solid connections in those countries. And he was expanding massively in those companies. And he exactly knew out of, let's say 50 or 100 SKUs, these SKUs are, important for these countries. He exactly knew, and this is like I don't know, maybe a 2-year-old, conversation. But I remember him, when we went to his office, he opened up the spreadsheet. He, gave us like a very little presentation. It was not needed. He was already listed. But anyways, he entertained us in a very good way. But काफी प्रमोटर ना ऐसे भी होते हैं जो मैंने ये पर्सनली देखा है, जो they will be not a very good orator, but they will be a very good execution guy.
वो इम्पोर्टेंट है.
हाँ, कभी कभी वो समझ नहीं आता. It's not easy to fully understand it, but I have seen some promoters executing very well, but they are not good at speaking. वो भी होता है. I think Divis Labs के promoters के लिए मैंने ऐसा सुना है कि they are not very communicative with the shareholders, but the kind of work which they have done in the last 20 years is exceptional. Pharma में ज़्यादा होता है, मैंने देखा है, क्योंकि it's science and it's tech know-how. But yeah, I think we enjoy a lot speaking to promoters, or in fact हमारे तो ज़्यादातर investor base is also promoters only. So we really enjoy working with promoters and working, understanding their psyche, understanding where do they want the company to go.
So, you mentioned luggage bags in your previous answer. तो luggage bags के बारे में आपका क्या thesis है? Like how is this industry headed? इसमें कौन से players है? And इसमें top pick कौन सी हो गया?
Luggage sector में mainly currently there are broadly 3 companies who have roughly, let's say, 70 to 80% of the market share in the branded luggage space. One is Safari, one is VIP, and the third one is Samsonite. Samsonite basically एक China की company है जो all over the world business करती है. So that is not an Indian homegrown company, right? ये Safari and VIP, these two gentlemen are the promoters of this company, Sudhir Jatia and Dilip Piramal. So ना बहुत interesting story है. Actually this can actually be a MBA case study. It's a phenomenal story which this sector has. तो मैं आपको थोड़ा history बताता हूँ luggage sector के बारे में. So luggage actually India में जब इंडिया को इंडिपेंडेंस मिली ना, उसके 30-40 साल तक हमारे लगेज थे कुछ ऐसे बक्से होते हैं जो आयरन के, लोहे के, कपड़े के. ये आई थिंक शायद घर पे भी बन सकते हैं. आई मीन टिपिकली मेटल बॉक्सेस, क्लोथ बॉक्सेस. And even I remember that my dadi used to have like a big metal box in her room that was very similar to this. So वो starting थी. But the first company which came in India and introduced plastic, or what we say PP bags, hard luggage, was Dilip Piramal. ये 1970s में, 1980s में इन्होंने luggage category introduce करी इंडिया में. And they were the first ones to get like real luggage, जिसको पहले अटैची या सूटकेस बोलते हैं अपन पुराने, like a plastic PP, which was a big revelation at that time. He captured India's 100% market share because there was no other company, there was no one working in this space. So again, he's like the someone who started the space. Huge respect for him. With time, what happened is, with time, this company became big. India also opened up in 1991 liberalization. India opened up kara, और Samsonite also came in the foray. Samsonite and VIP, ये दो companies थी. During the same time क्या हुआ कि Sudhir Jatia's father, Mohanlal Jatia, who was basically a textile manufacturer, उनके 2-3 बेटे थे, तो उन्होंने सोचा कि एक बेटे को कुछ और काम कराता हूँ. इट्स अ टिपिकल मारवाड़ी मेंटालिटी की अलग अलग फील्ड्स में मेरे बेटे काम करें. तो देयर वाज अ वेरी स्मॉल कंपनी कॉल्ड एरिस्टोक्रेट व्हिच वाज अप फॉर सेल, व्हिच वाज नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ वीआईपी दैट टाइम. इट वाज अ सेपरेट कंपनी. सो पिरामल जी ने एक्चुअली मोहनलाल जी जाटिया, जो सुधीर जाटिया के फादर हैं, उनको जाके बोला कि वी कैन एक्वायर दिस कंपनी, और आप का बेटा भी है तो वो मेरे साथ लग जाएगा. This is like in 1990s this happened. So he did this, and Dilip Piramal and Mohanlal Jatia's family, they owned 50% in Aristocrat. And from Mohanlal's family, Sudhir Jatia was appointed to take care of the assets of Jatia family. This is around 1990s, 1995. So ऐसा हो गया कि दो कंपनीज थी, एक में 50-50% ओनरशिप है और जो रिमेनिंग है वो 50 वीआईपी के ओनर के पास है, और एक बड़ी कंपनी है जो वीआईपी में 100% ओनरशिप है. तो इन लोग को लगने लगा कि यार ये तो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट होगा, व्हाई विल ही पुश एरिस्टोक्रेट, because he's 100% investor in VIP and he's 50% investor in aristocrat. So with time क्या हुआ कि aristocrat became a part of VIP. They ran both companies, ran good in a good way, but with time ये दोनों companies merge हो गई, और merge होने के बाद ये दिलीप पिरामल offered सुधीर जी to lead the company. तो जो सुधीर जाटिया है वो पहले टेक्सटाइल मिल्स में काम करते थे, लाइक लिटरली इन अ गद्दी, वर्सेस जो वो एरिस्टोक्रेट में आए तो ही वाज इन अ सेटअप वेयर ही विल हैव एमबीए ग्रेड्स एज हिज एम्प्लॉइज. तो वहां पे ऑन अ मेरिट बेसिस he climbed up the ladders and became a director. Then in the combined company also he became the CEO of the company, the head of the company who's running the show. Capital was obviously divided in both the families. The cap table, I think Piramals still hold the majority, and that time also used to hold the majority of the company. So they were doing fairly well. 2008 crisis आए. उसके crisis के time पे VIP was roughly a 50 years old company. So they reported their first ever loss. Sudhir was leading the effort. Sudhir was the head. And 2009 में they posted all-time high profits. Again, Sudhir was leading the effort. So Sudhir knew, देख लिया उन्होंने cycle पूरा, ups and downs देख लिए. Sometime during 2011 or 12, Dilip ji, her daughter, Dilip ji's daughter Radhika, she completed her education and she probably wanted to join the business, right? So succession, I think Dilip ji had that in mind, and due to whatever reason, Sudhir Jatia ji had to move out of VIP. So literally a company which he built from scratch in the last, let's say 15-20 years, he had to move out of that company. Post which he took a 1 year, 2 year kind of break. He understood, he at a point of time he wanted to become an investor also. उस दौरान में क्या हो रहा था कि इंडिया में मेजरली दो ही कंपनीज थी, वीआईपी एंड सैमसोनाइट, बट एक थर्ड बहुत डिस्टिंक्ट कंपनी थी, सफारी. सफारी उस टाइम पे सिर्फ कैंटीन बिजनेस करती थी, मतलब ये बिजनेस के अलग अलग सप्लाई चेन है. तो आप जाओगे तो आई डोंट नो, बट इन जयपुर वी हैव कैंटीन्स who will give you that. Those canteens are made for army personnel and government employees only, but they will give you a heavy discounted material on whatever you purchase. So their canteen division have a back division, and back divisions में वो कंपनी की लीडरशिप थी या वो कंपनी का काफी बड़ा सेल चैनल कैंटीन में ही था. बट कैंटीन के अलावा भी बहुत सारे सेल चैनल होते हैं, राइट? आजकल तो ई-कॉम हो गया, D2C EBO model हो गया, GT which is general trade, MT which is modern trade. These all are the channels, but Safari was only like a very small company, stayed at like 80 crore top line for the last 10 years, same top line, and only in canteen business. The quality of the bags was not that good. The price at which government employees normally at that time used to buy was good enough for them. So
canteen business as in like
canteen में बेचते थे bags. गवर्नमेंट की कैंटीन.
गवर्नमेंट की कैंटीन मतलब
गवर्नमेंट आर्मी
कैफे,
नॉट फूड कैफे. कैंटीन
क्या होता है?
कैंटीन इज अ टर्म यूज्ड फॉर गवर्नमेंट आर्मी कैंटीन्स, जहां पे आपको सिर्फ फूड नहीं मिलता. You get all the groceries, you get all the luggages, all the home equipments which you want. जैसे आर्मी में क्या होता है कि लोग एक शहर से दूसरे शहर मूव होते रहते हैं ना, you change your with family. So उनको हाईली सब्सिडाइज रेट पे गवर्नमेंट कैंटीन खोल के देती है और आर्मी वाले लोग वो कैंटीन से खरीद सकते हैं. वो एक्सक्लूसिवली आर्मी के लोगों के लिए होती है.
Okay.
So this is a big channel for luggage players. क्योंकि you can get through and you can get cheaper luggage from army canteens versus all the other channels which I discussed. Okay. So Safari सिर्फ एक बहुत ही छोटी प्लेयर थी. ये लोग were at let's say around 1,800-1,000 crore kind of top line, and that was at 70-80-90 crore kind of top line with no growth. तो सुधीर जी ने क्या किया कि इनके पास वीआईपी की शेयर होल्डिंग थी, तो इन्होंने वीआईपी के शेयर्स बेचे और 40 करोड़ में 77% ओनर बन गए सफारी के. सफारी के साथ भी ये इशू था कि दैट टाइम ओनर्स, आई थिंक 2 or 3 brothers were running the show. Out of that, 2 brothers were impaired, eyes उनकी इम्पेयर हो गई थी. तो they wanted to exit. और उनके मामा ने, he called सुधीर जी, and सुधीर जी acquired Safari. So now we are at a stage where VIP is like the leader. Sudhir ji is nowhere. Sudhir ji has just acquired Safari. The entire market cap of Safari is 60 crores. 40 करोड़ में उन्होंने 75-80% खरीदा है. अब he was a guy who was running the show in VIP, and he started a company from the scratch, from zero level. So obviously जब आपके पास पैसा होता है and you have the money muscle, you can grow. But without money, how to grow? Because this is a working capital heavy business. आपको लगेज खरीदना पड़ेगा सप्लायर से, या तो आप मैन्युफैक्चर करोगे या खरीदना पड़ेगा, एंड देन आपको कैंटीन में प्लेस करना पड़ेगा या ईबीओ में प्लेस करना पड़ेगा या मॉडर्न ट्रेड या जर्नल ट्रेड में प्लेस करना पड़ेगा, और उनका एक साइकिल होगा, राइट, उनका रिपेमेंट का. तो क्योंकि कोई भी बिजनेस वर्किंग कैपिटल हेवी होता है तो उसको ग्रो करना उतना ही डिफिकल्ट होता है. इट्स नॉट ईजी, राइट. आपके पास है ही 20 करोड़ रुपए, तो आप 100 करोड़ की सेल्स कैसे कर लोगे? क्योंकि 20 करोड़ तो साल में 2 बार ही घूमेगा, राइट. ओनली 2 times, ऐसे 175-180 डेज का अगर वर्किंग कैपिटल है तो आप साल में 2 बार ही उसको रिवॉल्व कर सकते हो. So the max you can do is 40 crore kind of top line from 20 crores if you have a asset turn of 2, if you have a working capital cycle of 2 times. So he raised investor money. So at that time, some good marquee PE investor invested in Safari at 100 crore market cap. Obviously, over the years, he cracked all the sales channels, including e-com. Safari was the first company to launch in e-com. Safari aggressively went behind the canteen business. After cracking e-com, they aggressively went behind modern trade. Modern trade means Reliance Retail. Modern trade means DMart. All the trade which is in modern trade. So usko unhone crack kiya. He was the company, he was running a company which was spending the most resources on each channel at a time. So he didn't fight a war. He fought a war in a way which is step-by-step battle. First, he conquered one channel, then usko maintenance mode pe dal diya. Then he conquered second channel, usko maintenance mode pe dal diya. Fir he conquered third channel, usko maintenance mode pe dal diya. Obviously, it's much easier said than done. But आज ये हालत है कि Safari enjoys a market cap of around 10-11,000 crore. And VIP's market cap is roughly 6,000 crore. Safari over the last, I think after 2012, is one of the fastest consumer brands in India, fastest growing consumer brands in India. They have almost cracked everything. They have cracked manufacturing. They have cracked distribution. Now they are eyeing premium luggage sector where, the likes of Mokobora, the likes of Nasher Miles, are taking market share, but they have launched recently a brand called Urban Jungle. And इस पूरे एपिसोड में क्या हुआ ना, एक ऐसा आदमी इमर्ज हुआ who became like from no one to the leader, or not leader but almost equal to a leader in the last 10-15 years. That is why I say कि this is one of the most interesting case studies. Rarely you will see companies who are number 2 or who are distinct number 3 to become number 1 in a field in 10 years, in 10-12 years. आप कोई सी भी इंडस्ट्री उठा के देख लो, ऐसा बहुत ही रेयर होता है if someone is able to pull this off. So that is why I, hugely respect Sudhir ji, what he has done over the last 10-15 years. During this time, VIP also did well. VIP is also doing like roughly 2,000 crore of sales. At that time when Sudhir ji left, VIP was doing roughly 1,000 crore. So they are also doing well. But the kind of growth Safari was able to give, right, it was unparalleled.
So what is something that Safari did that VIP did not?
So बहुत सारी चीजें, जैसा मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, cracking e-com. So VIP was an established player and they didn't want to burn cash on e-com. Well, this guy was hungry for market share and he was able to understand that e-com can be a very big channel in the future. Today, I think more than, maybe e-com has more than 10 to 15% as a channel in the luggage space. And Safari is a clear leader there. He has the first mover advantage. He has the last mover advantage in e-com. That was a channel he cracked pretty early. I think after cracking e-com, he cracked modern trade. अब आप modern trade में भी देखोगे तो the concept of a very small shop in shop, Safari was one of the leaders in that. Up to I'm sure a lot of other companies are also there, but then he cracked modern trade as well. So channel by channel, he has outperformed and he has put disproportionate resources on a channel. So that is why he was able to capture incrementally market share. एक चीज और है, एक चीज ये भी है कि Safari was focused on the lower end of the luggage industry. While VIP always lower end पे भी उनका एक brand था, that brand is called Alpha. But Safari was more focused on increasing its premium brands at a time when the sales of the lower end bags was more. Also, VIP से क्या गलती हुई कि for a short period of time, VIP shifted its entire manufacturing in Bangladesh and specifically in soft luggages. Soft luggage मतलब जो लगेज जिसमें बाहर हार्ड शेल नहीं होता, जिसमें सॉफ्ट कपड़ा होता है, वो लगेज वीआईपी ने सारा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बांग्लादेश पे डाल दिया. लेकिन सुधीर वाज स्मार्ट इनफ टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये सारा मैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ही कराऊंगा. इट्स लाइक नॉट वर्थ इट टू. एक वो होता है ना कि कंपनी मेरी छोटी है और हाथी पालने का कोई मतलब नहीं है, तो इट्स नॉट वेरी प्रूडेंट टू set up large manufacturing bases outside of India. So he used to acquire from China and Bangladesh. That time bulk of the manufacturing used to happen outside of India, which has changed post COVID. A lot of manufacturing has come in India, especially in the lower end of the strata of the luggage. So ये कुछ ऐसी गलतियां हैं जो VIP ने करी और सफारी ने सही करी. उसकी वजह से सफारी was able to capture a very large market share. और ये सब जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ना, ये सब समझने में बहुत टाइम लग गया. I think it took me years to understand what has happened behind the bars. And actually, one of my best friends, Arpit, I was in a very detailed discussion with him and Udit, who is my partner at Inved, कि यार, they both were saying कि VIP का तो भाई brand है, right? And Safari is like a growing thing, but it's not. VIP ज्यादा अच्छा करेगा. But I used to think कि this is a challenger brand and Safari ज़्यादा अच्छा करेगा. तो this is a conversation I remember pre-COVID we had like a 1 hour discussion on this. But उसका कोई conclusion नहीं निकल पाया था उस टाइम पे, क्योंकि इतनी शायद समझ नहीं थी या इतना पता नहीं था कि this is the kind of business which he is doing. Actually उस टाइम पे कंपनी भी बहुत छोटी थी. अब कंपनी इतनी बड़ी बन गई post-COVID that it is a realization now that this is what has happened in these companies.
So Safari versus VIP, can you walk us through some metrics or numbers? What are you seeing in them? And
absolutely. So these are, in very short, these are some of the numbers for the last roughly 8 years.
Wow. Share price CAGR is 39%.
Yes. So आप revenue growth देखो, जमीन आसमान का फर्क है, right? 23% and 7%. 7%, I think he's just able to maintain inflation. At 7%, you don't grow in volumes. Yeah. You are able to just grow your value, which is inflation adjusted value. While Safari was significantly taking market share away from not just VIP, from the unorganized as well. Kafi unorganized players say, they were able to take market share. And obviously look at profitability. Last year, actually, VIP reported a loss. That is why you can't really look at profit CAGR due to various reasons in the industry. But Safari has remained positive. And from a very small company, they are posting like 150 crores profitability in the last year. That has reflected in the share price also.
Got it. And इसमें फिर और कौन से players हैं ये segment में?
Absolutely. So actually ये काफी interesting case study है luggage sector की. इसको काफी समझने के बाद एक कंपनी और listed space में available है, while a lot of other companies are not available in the listed space. But a company called Brand Concepts is actually available in the listed space. And whatever has happened in the last 2 years, this company has corrected roughly 70 to 80% from its 2024 high. At the top level, it was trading at roughly 950 rupees. Now it is trading at 250 rupees, 270 rupees, I think. So it has corrected 70-80%. So पहली बात तो मैं ये बोलना चाहूंगा, again, this is not an investment advice. I am personally bullish. We are yet, kind of building an investment thesis on this company. But, this company has corrected a lot. And just in terms of valuation and how they have placed themselves, we feel that this can be like a good company to bet on. V2 Retail is a slightly higher market cap company. This is a micro cap. So you don't want to, this micro cap is high risk, high reward. If you only want to take really high risk, consult your financial advisor.
क्या market cap है इसका?
This is 300 crore market cap. It's a very small market cap. And hence, this is not like a advisable thing for anything.
ये सारे brands उनके हैं?
Yes.
UCB, Tommy Hilfiger.
Yes.
So अच्छा Indian company है?
ये Indian company है. Actually ये इंदौर based company है.
अच्छा, but ये Tommy Hilfiger इनका है?
Yes, Tommy Hilfiger is a licensed brand which they have. They are selling Tommy Hilfiger bags for the last, I think, 11 years in the country. And I think they are yet to renew. That license will get renewed, which is also a key risk. But the license will most probably be renewed for the next 10 years. I think should get done in the next 1 or 2 quarters is what the management is saying. Plus, they realize that 80% of the revenue currently, they have like a 300 crore top line, 290 to 80 crore kind of top line. 80% of that top line comes from Tommy Hilfiger only. But they are trying to diversify away from Tommy and they are launching newer brands. So, United Colors of Benetton, which is also a recognized brand, which is also a licensed brand, now contributes to roughly 10%, almost 10% इनकी top line का UCB भी contribute करता है. And then there is a very marquee brand called Off-White. I'm not sure if you have heard about this brand, but this is a very cult brand in the West. LVMH के जो founder थे, उन्होंने ये brand found किया था. And ये इसकी बहुत cult following है. But at the same time, it's very luxury brand also. I can call it like Cartier, if you have heard of watches. This is like the Cartier of bags. This is ultra luxury. मतलब average bag ASP will be in lakhs. This is a newer brand which they have launched, and they are launching, I think, ideal place for such kind of brand is in Geo Plaza, those kind of brands. So, plus they've also ventured into women hand baggage. They are competing with Caprese, Lavi. Caprese VIP का है, Lavi Samsonite का है. I think Safari is not yet in women handbags, but this is a fairly growing sector as well. So, in a very brief, ये लोग करीब 300 करोड़ की टॉप लाइन कर रहे हैं यूजिंग दिस इज ऑल्सो अ वेरी स्मॉल कंपनी. बट अगर आप इनका कुछ जो नए इनिशिएटिव्स हैं उनको आप देखोगे तो दे आर एंटरिंग इन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. ये लोग खुद का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग अब स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं. अभी तक व्हाट दे वर डूइंग इज सोर्सिंग इट फ्रॉम चाइना, बांग्लादेश एंड सेलिंग इट, व्हिच इज व्हाट सफारी एंड वीआईपी हैज आल्सो डन इन द पास्ट. बट अब क्या हो रहा है कि क्योंकि इंडिया में बहुत मैन्युफैक्चरिंग आ गई है तो प्राइसिंग इरोजन हो गया है, प्राइसिंग बहुत कम आ गई है और उसकी वजह से VIP posted losses. Even this company posted losses in 1Q quarter, in the last quarter which went by. But अब क्या होगा कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग आ जाएगी तो सारा जो मार्जिन्स हैं जो आप किसी और को दे रहे हो that will be captured in house, and they have already guided कि they will make roughly 10% kind of EBITDA margin the next 2 to 3 quarters. So ये लोग although 1Q में लॉस मेकिंग हो गए थे, बट इन 2Q और 3Q और 4Q they will again come back to mostly profitability on the EBITDA level. तो ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फोरे इनका बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. आई थिंक वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स व्हिच पीपल डोंट रियलाइज इज व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ग्रोथ दे हैव डन इन द पास्ट एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ वैल्यूएशन दे आर अवेलेबल एट. सो हाउ डू यू वांट टू जज अ कंपनी, राइट? यू वांट टू जज, किसी को जज करना है तो ये देखो कि उसकी लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ क्या रही है. उसकी लास्ट 1-2 साल में लगेज इंडस्ट्री ज्यादा चली नहीं है क्योंकि प्राइसिंग इरोजन हुआ है. वॉट एवर, अ लॉट ऑफ स्टार्टअप्स हैव आल्सो कम इन, a lot of supply has come in, but सफारी की तरह इनकी भी ग्रोथ कंपेरेबल है बट ऑन अ स्लाइटली शॉर्टर टाइम फ्रेम. ये 2018 से 2025 की ग्रोथ है, सफारी की 2017 से 25 की ग्रोथ है. बट the revenue growth is also at par with Safari. Last year again इनके profits अच्छे नहीं हुए, इसलिए profit CAGR is lower. Share price has done well, but the most important thing which I want to highlight is valuation. इनका valuation अभी क्योंकि losses में है तो P तो कुछ होगा नहीं, बहुत ही absurd सा नंबर आएगा 250-300 का P, but that is not meaningful क्योंकि you want to look at future, you cannot look at the future profit, the past profitability, क्योंकि past profitability is impacted by one-off events. कुछ one-off event ऐसे हुए लगेज सेक्टर में जिसकी वजह से VIP का P नहीं निकल सकता, इनका भी P नहीं निकाल सकते. But if you look at price to sales, which is generally considered like a very important number, अगर आप कोई भी D2C brand आप देखोगे specifically luggage में, and the next slide will be on those D2C brands only. So in the unlisted space, you will see most of the luggage players have been valued at north of 3 or 4 or 5 times price to sales. Nasher Miles, Assembly, Mokobara. Recently, Mokobara raised a private round, which was valued roughly 4 to 5 times of their sales, which was forward sales. So FY25 or FY26, I think 26 or 27 forward sales पे they did that. So on valuation front, I feel कि on one time price to sales एक luggage brand मिल रहा है. Normally unlisted में भी नहीं मिलेगा. If you look at the next slide, these are some of the other companies like Uppercase, Assembly, Nasher Miles. इनका सबका mostly जो है price to sales is much higher than what is there in the listed or even space, while even Safari, which is doing well, is priced at roughly 5 or 6 times. So on valuation front, I feel brand concepts is decently placed. यहाँ से growth आना बहुत important है. अगर यहाँ से growth नहीं आई company में, तो again it remains like a value investment. So to have multi-baggers in the stock market, you need growth. Either it's a value investment or it's a growth investment. It's a high P stock or a no P stock or a low P stock. अगर आपकी growth नहीं आई आगे, which means अगले 2 साल में top line, bottom line में growth नहीं आई, then it will remain a value stock. But अगर वो growth आई, then from one time price to sales, I feel this will revert to mean. This will probably revert to mean, and what unlisted players and listed players are trading at roughly 3 to 4 to 5 times price to sales is quite possible with a higher amount of sales. अगर growth आएगी तो 300 crore की sale नहीं रहेगी, it will be 400 crore or let's say 500 crore sales. So that has been one of the key areas which we feel that this third company, Brand Concepts, should be looked at. Again, this is not an investment advice. We are here for just education, just to tell you that how our process is for evaluating companies and filtering companies out of sectors. पहले sectors को अच्छे से समझते हैं, फिर company पे आते हैं. तो उससे क्या होता है कि एक डेप्थ नॉलेज सेक्टर की होती है, एंड उसके बाद to understand nuances at company level, it becomes easier.
ये TTM PB क्या है and how to interpret that?
Yeah, TTM, I'll explain you everything. TTM PE, I think you know. TTM EV EBITDA is another valuation multiple, EV by EBITDA. TTM PS is price to sales. TTM price, TTM sales is in the denominator and your current market cap. And PB is price to book. So suppose आपने आपकी book value क्या है अभी company में, which means your book value of assets, which is your current book value, and in the numerator is the market cap of the company. So normally price to book is a metric which we look at in manufacturing companies, but this is a consumer company, and consumer companies will also ज़्यादातर consumer companies distribution होती है. They don't have assets on book. वो किसी से खरीद के अपना brand लगा के बेचती हैं. तो in those kind of situations, price to book is normally not a very important metric. Sales is an important metric. PE can be also a very important metric. Even EV EBITDA is an important metric. But different sectors, अलग-अलग sectors के अलग-अलग valuation metrics होते हैं. जैसे banks में अगर आप देखोगे तो price to book is the most important metric. But for consumer companies, price to book is not used very widely क्योंकि उनके कुछ assets पे book नहीं होते, कुछ books पे assets नहीं होते, इसलिए price to book आप नहीं देख सकते.
Got it. एंड आपने बताया कि ब्रांड कॉन्सेप्ट्स का शेयर प्राइस करेक्टेड 70-80% आपने बताया, राइट? तो क्यों इतना क्यों हुआ था?
राइट. सो अगर आप इनका लेट मी ओपन अप स्क्रीनर एंड टेल यू दिस.
Sure.
सो आप देखोगे कि क्या हुआ है इनके साथ. इनके सेल्स स्टैग्नेट हो गए हैं एंड इनका प्रॉफिट इज डाउन ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 90%, राइट, फ्रॉम द टॉप. 2024 का जो प्रॉफिट था, आज TTM on a trailing 12-month basis that is down to 1 crore. That's almost zero, right? अब इसकी क्या हुआ है, ये रीजन देखना पड़ेगा. इसका रीजन मेनली अब दिस इज ब्रांड कॉन्सेप्ट. लेट मी शो यू व्हाट हैज हैपेंड टू VIP. 2023 में इन्होंने 150 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट किया था. नाउ दे हैव पोस्टेड ऑलमोस्ट लाइक अ 90 करोड़ लॉस. तो ये क्यों हुआ है सेक्टर में? ये अक्रॉस द सेक्टर हुआ है. एंड अगेन नाउ लुक एट सफारी. सो सेक्टर का जब भी हम एनालिसिस करते हैं ना, तो अब सारी कंपनीज का सिचुएशन आपको देखना पड़ता है. ऑन द कॉन्ट्रेरी, सफारी के भी प्रॉफिट्स कम हुए हैं, but they have been able to manage this. And a big reason for this was Safari had in-house manufacturing in India, while VIP had to scrap its Bangladesh manufacturing and take it back to India. और उनकी ज्यादातर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग भी सॉफ्ट लगेज में थी, वर्सेस VIP वर्सेस सफारी, इनकी ज्यादातर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हार्ड में थी. एंड द इंडस्ट्री आल्सो शिफ्टेड टुवर्ड्स हार्ड लगेज फ्रॉम सॉफ्ट लगेज. So that has been the contributor for this, decrease in profits. I am hopeful that in the next 1 or 2 years, let's say in the next 1 year, the pricing erosion which has happened will stabilize, and everyone will start clocking again their historical margin, including VIP. And by the way, VIP today is being acquired by a PE firm. So Dilip, Piramal and family, they have decided to sell the company to a PE firm. So I'm not sure about the name of the company, but a PE firm has acquired VIP, and they will run the show now. Whatever things they will try to improve and probably take it forward.
Got it. तो ये आप वो जो बोल रहे हो करेक्शन हुआ था, दैट वाज एन इंडस्ट्री वाइड फिनोमिनन.
Yes.
मतलब सारे इंडस्ट्री और सबके स्टॉक प्राइसेस 1 ईयर के डाउन ही हो गए फिर.
Yes,
सफारी,
yes.
VIP, ब्रांड कॉन्सेप्ट्स, एवरीवन.
Absolutely. Safari थोड़ा सा has remained stable, but it is still down. If you look
ये
at
-12% दिखा रहा है ना वो स्टॉक प्राइस CAGR.
Safari is down 12%.
Yeah. And
even VIP is down 12%. Actually, VIP went down a lot, but it came up because of the PE, this thing. So if you look at the 10-year chart, then you will be able to understand कि ये काफी नीचे आ गया था यहाँ पे. It was almost down like a 50%. 600-700 रुपए से almost like 270 आ गया था ये भी. But PE firm यहाँ कहीं पे आ गई. I don't know. Technicals sometimes are ahead of the markets. So PE firm के आने की वजह से I think there has been some re-rating which has happened. While for brand concepts, it is currently a journey which is going downhill. It is, that is why I said this is a micro cap company and a high risk company. I would not advise people do their homework and only then think companies investing in companies like this. But at least we at Inved, we think that मल्टी बैगर्स की रेसिपी क्या होती है कुशल? मल्टी बैगर्स की रेसिपी ये होती है कि आपकी एंट्री बहुत ही रीजनेबल वैल्यूएशन पे हो, एंड देन द इंडस्ट्री कम्स बैक टू अ ग्रोथ पाथ. देन मार्जिन्स रिवर्ट टू मीन, बॉटम लाइन रिवर्स टू मीन. वैल्यूएशन जो शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए करेक्ट हुआ है, वन टाइम्स प्राइस टू सेल्स, दैट अगेन रिवर्ट्स टू मीन. दैट समटाइम्स टेक्स सम टाइम. Sometimes it's not a 1-year journey, it's a 2-3 year journey. But then you are not looking at a 20% return. You are also looking at, let's say, 2-3x. I assume like 2-3x in 2-3 years is not a bad return. And that has been, a fundamental core belief that buy something which is value and give it some space to have growth. Growth is definitely important. Without growth, value will remain value. But अगर value में growth आ जाती है, then that is a perfect recipe for multi-baggers.
So do you think the brand concepts can become the next Safari?
सफारी बनने के लिए बहुत साल लगेंगे. I mean, वो वैसी बात हो गई कि this is a 300 crore market cap company. You cannot compare a 300 crore market cap to a 12,000 crore market cap. But they have shown good signs. Markets कहाँ जाएंगे is very very difficult to say, but I am very positive on the company. Personally, we do not have any positions currently, and we are evaluating the idea. But I feel they have a long way to go. Sudhir Jatia is someone who cannot be stopped in this industry. So very hard to compare like someone like him. But अगर उसका आधा भी कर लिया, तो from here there is.
So why would your top pick not be Safari then?
See, Safari में क्या हुआ है कि the entry valuations are not favorable. This is a market leader available at market leader prices, right? So यहाँ से क्या CAGR बनेगा, मैं मना नहीं कर रहा. I think your entry valuation is 70-80 times P there. The company will grow at 20-30%. You might make 20-30% CAGR if the valuation remains same. But if the earnings increase by 20-30% and valuations from 70p becomes to 50p, 50p is also a good valuation, then आपको कुछ नहीं बनेगा, right? That is the risk there. Versus in brand concepts has different risks. Brand concepts risks are, suppose the price erosion which is happening in the market stays for too long, stays for 1 or 2 years more. It might again have a downside of 50% from here. So catching a falling knife can be harmful, right? So it is, currently a risky investment. But suppose if industry reverts to mean, ये कंपनी भी 20-30% की सेल्स ग्रोथ करेगी और इसके भी EBITDA margins will be again 10-12%, इसमें मीनिंगफुल जंप आ सकता है. इसमें we are not talking about 10-20% CAGR. इसमें we are talking in terms of 2-3x, 5x, which is an insane amount of CAGR, right? So this is a bet which only high risk investors can take. This is not a bet for someone who is new to the market. I don't think उसको bet करनी चाहिए, but आपको ये समझना चाहिए कि ये इंडस्ट्री में ऐसे भी होता है. इंडस्ट्री में लीडर्स कैसे काम करते हैं, और जब साइकिल टर्न होता है तो जो छोटे प्लेयर्स हैं उनकी क्या पिटाई होती है. दे आर डाउन 70-80%. एंड इन नन ऑफ द इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, आप चाहे टाइटन ले लो, चाहे आप इन्फोसिस ले लो, चाहे आप HUL ले लो, ऑल दीज कंपनीज, हमेशा ऐसा दौर आया है या हमेशा ऐसा एक कोई टाइम पीरियड आया है, दे हैव बीन डाउन 50-60-70% फ्रॉम देयर हाइज. दिस इज अ जर्नी ऑफ अ इन्वेस्टर विच ही शुड बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर. वो एक है ना कोट है एक्चुअली, मैं अभी मार्लिन मुनरो का, if you can't handle my verse, you don't have the right to have my best, something like that. It's not. So वैसे ही markets के साथ है, if you can't handle the worst drawdowns, you cannot handle the upside. You do not have the right to deserve the upsides also. Correct. So it's a very cyclical stock, and industry and the markets are also cyclical. यही मजा है इन्वेस्टिंग का, बाय द वे. अगर समथिंग विच इज नॉट मिसप्राइज्ड इन द मार्केट, देन यू कैन नॉट क्रिएट अल्फा. समथिंग वेयर वी इन्वेस्टेड लाइक इन 7p इन PNGS Gargi, यही डाउट हो रहा था कि कंपनी की कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस तो ठीक है ना. इफ यू डोंट टेक रिस्क्स इन स्टॉक मार्केट, and you have to take a calculated risk. You cannot go all in 100% in one company. That cannot happen. You have to be well diversified, but you need to take risks to create alpha in the portfolio. There will be always some players who will be like a consistent compounder. I mean, I respect those companies as well. But if you have one or two companies who can create alpha, who are like beaten down, but not in a favorable cycle, but can go higher when the cycle turns, you have to look at those companies also. But आप अपना एलोकेशन उस हिसाब से कम कर दो. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि E2E Networks में ऑल्दो 22x हुआ 1-1.5 साल में ही, 1-1.25 साल में ही, बट उसमें एलोकेशन बहुत कम था क्योंकि रिस्क थी. सिमिलरली इन हाई रिस्क कंपनीज you should have a very minimum allocation like a tracking quantity, but you can scale up that allocation with execution. जैसे जैसे कंपनी क्वार्टर ऑन क्वार्टर एग्जीक्यूशन करती है, वैसे वैसे you can scale up your bet. That can be something which like someone who is doing direct investing can do.
Any views on startup companies that got listed, maybe like Zomato, Paytm,
No, I mean,
कोई आप evaluate करते हो thesis?
हम देखते हैं, we keep looking at it, and in fact we have looked at platform companies. They say platform companies are without any assets. So we'll keep looking at platform companies.
Any top pick from the startups that have been listed recently?
No, I think there are a lot of startups which have listed. Zomato, Paytm, Cartrade, First Cry. I think few more are getting listed very soon.
Fractal abhi aa raha hai.
Yes, Fractal aa raha hai. I think Grow is trying to list.
Yeah.
See, I'll be honest. These companies started 10, 12 years back, maybe 15 years back. That was, a very good time to invest in those companies. Even today, these companies, I think Zomato is a part of Nifty or Sensex now. And ये बहुत बड़ी हो चुकी हैं companies. They have become mammoth companies. Even Zepto, I think, is also planning for an IPO. We normally prefer companies which are, smaller in market cap. वो वही वाली बात हो गई कि HUL में इन्वेस्ट करोगे या ब्रांड कॉन्सेप्ट्स में. HUL स्टेबल बिजनेस है यार. Zomato is a stable business now. It will grow at a certain CAGR and it is already priced in that way. It is a Nifty company. As a growth investor, we rarely invest in Nifty companies unless and until there is a very exceptional opportunity. Something like Airtel happened. Airtel was, Jio के साथ प्राइस वॉर हो रहा था, उसकी वजह से नीचे चला गया. एंड देन एयरटेल हैज बीन अ मल्टी बैगर इन द पोस्ट कोविड. काफी अच्छा चला है. वैसी कुछ एकदम एक्सेप्शनल अपॉर्चुनिटी है तो देखना बनता है. बट एट लाइक 2-3 लाख करोड़ मार्केट कैप, we don't look at it, but people who are okay with like a 10, 15, 20% kind of CAGR, they should definitely look at it. Very important. अच्छे से आप देख सकते हो उसको. Plus a lot of these large businesses are a lot of moving parts. What happens is Zomato का Blinkit भी है, Zomato भी है, Hyperpure भी है. Then there is some new thing which is also doing. So it is very difficult to track a large cap company versus small cap company का काम बहुत कम होता है ना. तो the variables to track is very less. And hence, as investors, we really look at companies which are of smaller market cap, can have like a much higher, alpha, which can happen. And that has happened in few of our investments. As I told you, like 2-3 investments, we were, very early in Force Motors. My partner Mohit, he discovered the stock, and I think we entered it around at a very low price. Let me put it that way. We've seen what has happened with Force with the same philosophy. Ki something which is beaten down route now due to a sector which has been in headwinds. Hopefully things will revert back to normal. And once it reverts back to normal, it is a 2 to 3 year process. If you are able to see through that process, you might look at something which is currently providing value, but in the next 2-3 years might provide growth, and hence you will re-rate from there. Similarly, we bought a company called Red Tape. That company was a part of Mirza International.
ये वो shoes वाली है क्या?
Absolutely. So interestingly, that is the only company which has actually transitioned from a footwear company to a footwear plus apparel company. Okay. Today, Red Tape, the split is almost 50-50%. It sells apparels 50% and footwear is 50%. You think of any other company which has transitioned from just footwear to apparels. Very rarely you will find it. So ये हमें कब मिली? Again, Mohit was instrumental to this idea as well. ये हम देख रहे थे जब this was a part of Mirza International, and we looked at the annual report. And by the way, this report is also there on our website. So हमने उनकी एनुअल रिपोर्ट में देखा, एंड कंपनी का मैनेजमेंट कभी भी कोई कॉन कॉल नहीं करता, कोई इन्वेस्टर को बात नहीं करता. हमने रेड टेप के डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से बात करी कि हमें प्रमोटर से बात करा दो, उसने भी प्रमोटर से बात करी, बट प्रमोटर ने बात नहीं करी. तो कुछ प्रमोटर ऐसे भी होते हैं तो किसी से बात नहीं करता. इट्स नॉट बैड, इट्स ओके. तो हम लोग ने उनकी एनुअल रिपोर्ट देखी. We do this exercise annually.
Can you open that if it is
sure,
okay?
Sure,
from
absolutely.
your website. It will be like amazing too.
This data you will not find anywhere.
Okay.
You will literally not find anywhere this data on anywhere apart from their annual report. और ये भी उन्होंने तब दिया जब they were a part of Mirza International.
एनुअल रिपोर्ट मतलब एनुअल रिपोर्ट में तो ये होगा ही ना, एज इन लिस्टेड कंपनी है ना ये
हाँ, not every company will give this in the annual report.
अच्छा
Most companies will give this data in their presentation, let's say in their quarterly con calls. But ये कंपनी तो ना presentation करती थी ना con call करती थी, और लोगों को लगता था कि है ना मिर्जा इंटरनेशनल जो है एक लेदर का एक टैनरी बिजनेस था जिसमें लेदर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करते थे, विच इज पहली बात तो वो सिन बिजनेस है, तो इसलिए कुछ इन्वेस्टर्स नहीं आते. सेकंड, दे वर लॉस मेकिंग इन द लेदर बिजनेस, बट लेदर बिजनेस के पीछे एक छुपा हुआ बिजनेस था रेड टेप जो स्केल हो रहा था, जो लोगों को दिखा नहीं. ये बिजनेस वाज एक्चुअली द फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग कंपनी इन द फुटवेयर सेक्टर फॉर दैट टाइम पीरियड. मतलब कंपेयर इट विद कैंपस, विद मेट्रो, with all the biggies which were listed, Bata, compare this with everyone. But the kind of growth, EBO count-wise also, and same-store sales growth also, the CAGR of 34% in these specific years was only, the highest in this company.
This is crores, rupees in crores, क्या? 1,468. इतना बड़ा है?
Yes, this is in crores.
Okay.
Yes. So you will see it here as well. Yeah. Right? Okay. So this business was hidden in a company which was considered a sin business. Plus there were some other challenges also. इनके ना प्रमोटर के दो बेटे थे. One son was running the tannery business. The other son, Shuza Mirza, was running the EBO business, which is a branded business. Plus also there was some notion in investors that ये लोग कुछ royalty payments लेते थे promoters. So कुछ लोग बोलते थे यार प्रमोटर चोर है, राइट, ये रॉयल्टी लेके प्रॉफिट माइनॉरिटी को देता नहीं है, रॉयल्टी लेके ले जाता है कंपनी में. तो हमने ये देखा ओवर द इयर्स इनकी रॉयल्टी पेमेंट्स कम हो रही थी. सो इंक्रीमेंटली आपको ना कभी भी शेयर मार्केट में, कभी भी इक्विटी मार्केट्स में, यू कैन नॉट वर्क विद फिक्स्ड माइंडसेट. यू नीड टू ट्रैक चेंजेस. इट्स लाइक अ मूवी, एंड फॉर अस इट्स लाइक अ ट्रेजर हंट ऑल्सो. कि ये ट्रेजर हंट है, इसमें हर एक प्रमोटर की, हर एक कंपनी की मूवी चल रही है. इसमें से आपको मूवी समझनी पड़ेगी और इसको रोलिंग बेसिस पे इवैल्यूएट करते रहना पड़ेगा. रोलिंग बेसिस पे आप इवैल्यूएट करोगे तो देखोगे कि धीरे धीरे रॉयल्टी पेमेंट्स कम हो रहे हैं. दे आर मूविंग टू अ बेटर बिजनेस मॉडल. एंड देन दे अनाउंस्ड, हम काफी टाइम से सोच रहे थे, देन दे फाइनली अनाउंस्ड कि ये बिजनेस को डिमर्ज कर रहे हैं. सो एट दैट टाइम, बिफोर दैट टाइम एक्चुअली वी एंटर्ड, आई थिंक आवर एंट्री वैल्यूएशन वाज 600 crore मार्केट कैप. Last year we did exit this company and this was also a part of our RA recommendation. We exited around 9,000 crore market cap.
Wow.
So that
15x.
Yeah. And I am happy for this because, this was not just in our personal portfolio. A lot of clients, were able to see what was happening in the company.
So why did you sell it at 9,000 crores?
See, what happens is in equity markets, it's very important to look at companies and, evaluate again on rolling basis, as I told you. So इसमें होता क्या है कुशल कि you get new opportunities each day. So as since we are very active on the private space as well, we would easily receive 3 deals a day. On a weekly basis.
So your point is nothing wrong with the company, but just that you got another opportunity.
You got another opportunity. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम सिर्फ एक opportunity की वजह से हुए. This was fairly valued. This was trading at 45-50 times PE. Although consumer companies trade at 60-70 times also, we thought this is fairly valued now. अच्छा valuation इसको मिल चुका है और एक investor का ना धर्मा है exit करना. बहुत बार होता है ऐसा कि कंपनी तो बहुत अच्छी है, बट आप अगर होल्ड ही करके रह गए ना, तो वो ब्रांड कॉन्सेप्ट्स की जैसे वो देयर वाज अ शार्प बुल रन फ्रॉम 20 rupees to 950 rupees. You were making what? I don't know, maybe 40x, I don't know. But now it's down to 250 rupees. You are again 10x in, I'm comparing the 2018 prices. So from 70x, you became to 10x, right? तो exit करना is sometimes more important than entry करना, और
हाँ.
ये पता नहीं होता actually.
So how do you decide then when
So
to exit?
हम कोशिश करते हैं. See, I'll be honest, we are not perfect in exiting. हमारे कुछ अच्छे exits भी हुए हैं, but कुछ ऐसे भी exits हुए हैं जो आज देख के लगता है यार क्यों exit करा.
जैसे?
So we exited a company called Bector Foods. ये आप ब्रेड खाते होंगे उसकी English Oven, which is a very renowned brand here in Mumbai. So this company IPO आया इनका almost 350 rupees. We entered, market corrected. We entered at 250 rupees, and the stock went up within 6 months to 900 rupees. So we thought we've made like 3x in 6 months or maybe 7 months. This is a good enough company, but now fairly valued. And today it's trading at I think 2000 or 3000 rupees. So we missed the upside. मार्केट में ना कुछ तो छोड़ना पड़ेगा आपको, बाकी इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए भी, मार्केट के लिए भी. नॉट एवरी टाइम यू विल बी, इनफैक्ट नॉट एवरी टाइम छोड़ो, ऑलमोस्ट नेवर यू विल बी एबल टू एंटर एट द लोएस्ट एंड एग्जिट एट द हाईएस्ट. ये कभी नहीं होगा. ये रेयरली, not even really, almost never, this will never happen. And hence you will have to take that judgment ki yaar abhi this is a certain CAGR which has this has happened. Market is now valuing this company fairly. You might have a view of the like red tape consumer slowdown was happening in front of us. There was a big bull run of consumer sentiments after COVID because revenge travel, all that was happening. So, and people were coming out of homes buying new stuff. So एक low base पे बहुत अच्छा bull run already 2-3 साल का हो चुका था. So there was an expectation कि consumer slowdown भी हो सकता है, but no one is sure, right? No one is fully sure. When you exit, you have to take that call, and many times that those calls are not correct. But anyways, on in the fund or in the personal level, if you have achieved a certain CAGR, then it is your dharma to exit and then look for reinvestment opportunities. And these days I think there are a lot of reinvestment opportunities which have.
आपका पर्सनल पोर्टफोलियो स्टॉक मार्केट्स का कैगर कितना होगा आपकी इन्वेस्टिंग जर्नी का?
I think my personal portfolio would be definitely north of 35-40%.
Oh, wow.
I don't have data to back it up, but mainly what has happened is, when in my personal level, when I thought something is of, very, very good investment, I have, increased up the bet size. So CAGR ठीक है, मतलब कुशल, बट आप एक्चुअल में पैसा कितना कमाओगे एक स्टॉक पे, वो मैटर करता है. जैसे E2E मैं खुश हो सकता हूँ बोल के, बट ज्यादा पैसा नहीं कमा पाया मैं E2E में. पैसा एब्सोल्यूट टर्म्स में होना चाहिए, which is more important. And कभी ऐसा लगे कि यार ये बेट तो मेरे पूरे 2 साल में सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग बेट लग रही है मुझे, then you should bet heavily. When वो कहते हैं ना, I think I'm a big fan of राकेश जी also. एंड मैं इस चीज पे हमेशा सोचता रहता हूँ कि यार उनसे मिलने का कभी मौका नहीं मिला. बट जब द ऑड्स आर इन योर फेवर ना कुशल, यू शुड रियली बेट हैवी. नाउ हैवी बैटिंग का मतलब ये नहीं है कि 100% ऑल इन हो जाओ, बट यू शुड डेफिनेटली एलोकेट अ हायर अमाउंट to that bet when you are very sure. So that is what I have done in the past. I would say, especially post COVID, that is what I've been able to do, and that is why on a CAGR basis वो ज्यादा लगता है. But I wish capital size बड़ा होता. Capital size छोटा था जब start किया था, and obviously with time you increase. जब capital size बड़ा हो जाता है ना, तो CAGR कम हो जाता है. वो natural है होना. You can't really help it, and you also then become sometimes protective of that capital, because you cannot risk, let's say up higher than a certain percentage on a company, and that is why you're not able to do that. But I'm saying in general that when the odds are in your favor, you should really bet high.
So which is that one company today at present which you are betting heavily on?
So I think there are a lot of companies actually,
but one out of all of them you have to pick one.
We, to be honest, bet high. It's difficult to do it now because the capital size has increased, and what we try to do is keep our portfolio as low as, I mean, in terms of stock selection, we keep a very concentrated portfolio. When we say concentrated, we are hardly, invested in maybe 15 to 20 companies.
But if there has to be one company where you have the highest conviction, will it be brand concept, V2 retail, or which one
I
will
think
it be?
there are a lot of companies in the listed space. Yes, these are good companies. I think in some of our unlisted bets, we will do very well. Again, that company is called Solios Energy. It's a solar APC
unlisted?
company. It's unlisted. This is more of an accidental investment, I would be honest. But we are looking at roughly kind of a 10x kind of upside from the time we invested. So surprisingly, when we invested, and a lot of these investments happens through merchant bankers, which are mostly unknown. We invested in this company at a time when the listed space in the solar EPC world was trading at 70-80 times TTM earnings. We got in this company at, I think, 14 times earnings in the unlisted space, which is on TTM basis. And the earnings from that level is up roughly 10x in FY26. I think more than 10x if I'm not wrong. Plus the valuation also, we are expecting ki once the company lists, it will not be at the entry valuation or entry PE where we invested. So the PE will also get slightly higher and the earnings are also very high. So that is one of a good conviction. I'll be honest, there are 2-3 more companies in the unlisted space. There's a company called ESDS. This company is into data center. This mainly works with the government of India, government of Maharashtra. The promoter actually recently inaugurated a facility with CM of UP, Mr. Yogi Adityanath. उनके साथ उन्होंने एक facility अभी recently open करी है. And ये data center related services, storage and software services around it, very similar to E2E. They, are doing work in this space. That is another company. I think we have invested in so many companies. So yeah, maybe top 2 can be this, but there are so many companies. I think we have a very large unlisted portfolio, and there are. What happens is ये change हुआ actually. I would like to expand this more. This not used to be the case 5 years back. So 5 साल पहले क्या होता था? Majority AIFs or fund houses or even HNI investors would invest in listed space, क्योंकि इंडिया का unlisted market इतना बड़ा नहीं था. But specifically with वारी, जिसका बहुत बड़ा फंड रेज था, राइट, अराउंड 1,000-1,200 करोड़ का फंड रेज था in both the rounds combined. They did 2 rounds, one at 4,000 crore market cap. The other one was at 13,000 crore market cap. इंडिया ने ज्यादा कंपनीज देखी नहीं थी अनलिस्टेड स्पेस में बिफोर वारी. जो पब्लिक में, मतलब नॉट पब्लिक बट इट वाज अ प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट राउंड जिसमें 1,000 करोड़ रेज हो रहा है एचएनआई से. कंपनी कोई थी नहीं, मुझे एटलीस्ट आई डोंट रिमेंबर a large company which has raised this large round in the unlisted space. And obviously people got it right. We also invested around 50-60 crores through our network and channelized that money in
at what market cap?
I think we participated in both the rounds, but heavily in the second round. And उसके बाद क्या हुआ? The unlisted prices went up through the roof. So we have reached to a level in the unlisted markets where the IPO price is known to people. The IPO price was known to people that it will be around 1,500 rupees. But the unlisted prices were at 2,900 rupees. So ये बहुत drastic change हुआ है इंडिया के कैपिटल मार्केट्स में. ये कभी नहीं हुआ था पहले. और उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ कि now people or risky investors who want to really allocate, and these HNI people, they have really allocated like a good chunk of their portfolio in the unlisted space.
But ये retail investors नहीं कर सकते ना.
Retail investors,
हम लोग जैसे जो हमको invest करना है, हमको unlisted में.
Actually problem क्या है? इसमें ticket size का problem होता है. So whenever you invest, there is a certain ticket size minimum which you need to have, because all SEBI rules and all that. So वो एक बड़ा barrier है. But there are some platforms which sometimes aggregate and then invest through a vehicle. Those are not legal structures.
Okay.
Those are not legal as per my opinion. They can have like sometime in future they can have some problem is what I feel. But मैं ये कहता हूँ कि unlisted को देख के ना you can draw a lot of learnings for the listed market.
Correct.
That we have done very wisely, and that is why we are able to understand कि यार unlisted में अगर कोई D2C brand का 5-6 टाइम का multiple मिल रहा है और कोई listed में 1 times पे मिल रहा है, तो this is certainly undervalued. इसके बाद की रिसर्च चलो बाद में करेंगे, but क्योंकि we have a face time in the unlisted market so much, we are able to draw some insights. Even PNGS Gargi, I was able to look because a lot of activity was going. This was a very hot space in the startup or unlisted markets. So recently, I think company is also IPO'd, which is called Bluestone. Bluestone also raised funds from Nitin Kamath and very large investors. And pre-IPO again, we saw that company. Carrot Lane also. Titan was acquired the entire company in 17,000 crore rupees. So again, unlisted से काफी learnings मिलती हैं जो आप listed में भी apply कर सकते हो. That is a important thing which one should learn.
Wow, very insightful. So much nuggets of wisdom from this conversation. Thank you so much for doing this. I know we had a power sector to cover, but guys, अगर आपको एक और एपिसोड चाहिए तो प्लीज कमेंट्स में बता देना एक पावर सेक्टर के ऊपर एंड कौन से कंपनीज है पावर सेक्टर में दैट ही इज बुलिश ऑन. You can type it in the comments, but we'll definitely do another episode. Thank you so much once again for doing this, and I think everyone is going to get benefited a lot because of your insights and the way you presented all the slides and all. Thank you so much for doing this, and I mean I'm sure कि आपका जो next investing journey रहेगा it's going to be multi-bagger for sure. Thank you so much for doing this once again.
Thank you so much, Kushal, for having me, and thank you so much for the wise words, and I also wish you the best. I think you are doing exceptional work for a lot of folks out there, so you are doing inspiring work as well, so all the best in your future endeavors also.
Thank you so much once again. अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया होगा तो I'll request you to share it with all your friends and subscribe to our channel so that we can give you more value additive content in the shortest amount of time. हमको ये बताइए कि आपको कौन से kind of guest चाहिए, हमको ये बताइए कि कौन से questions मुझे नहीं पूछने चाहिए थे, कौन से questions मुझे और पूछने चाहिए थे ताकि आपको और ज़्यादा value मिल सके, और कौन से ऐसे parts है जो आपको बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आए ताकि हम लोग ये parts trim कर सके future episodes में. So thank you so much once again for watching this episode, and keep sharing all our episodes with your friends and keep giving us feedback so that we can improve and come up with better quality content.